guys, my name's Dave and welcome to another Guitar Zero to Hero song tutorial. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play American Idiot by Green Day, which is the title track from their best album in my opinion. For the basics of this song, you'll need your guitar and standard tuning and you won't need a capo. Now all the tones that you hear in this lesson are recorded using the Boss Katana 100 Mark II. If you want the tone patch, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. If you want to master your chords back to front, then be sure to head over to guitarzerotohero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook. Or if you want to improve any guitar in general, then check out Guitar Zero to Hero Premium, which is my complete step-by-step guitar course. Let's jump into the lesson. Now in terms of tone, I'm just using the bridge pickup here, and I'm also using a distorted tone. Now on my katana, I'm just using a lead amp channel and I've cranked up the gain to about 60 or 70 there. My EQ's roughly flat and I've just got a tiniest bit of reverb here. So this is a lead guitar amp channel which has that distortion already inbuilt. But if you're dealing with a guitar amp that has a clean channel, then you can just add a distortion pedal on top of it and you'll get a similar result. So let's start with the intro. Now the first two bars are what I'm gonna be calling the main riff, where we end the riff on an F#5 power chord. And the third and the fourth bars are what I'm going to call the main riff, but where we end the riff with open strings. So they're both effectively the same, but they end in different ways. So let's take a look at the first two bars. Okay, so we're going to start off with an A flat power chord, so an A flat 5. So to play that, we have our index finger on the 4th fret of the 6th string and our ring and pinky finger on the 6th frets of the 5th and 4th strings. So we're just focusing on those top 3 strings. The 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings should be muted. Now you can do that by lightly resting your index finger on top of those strings. So as it's hitting the root note, which is this A flat, lightly rest that index finger across all the other strings. We're not barring it, so you're not pushing down that whole index finger, you're only pushing down the very tip, and then the rest of it is muting those other strings. And that way when you're rocking out, you can strum all the strings and only the power chord will ring out because these notes will be muted. Now if you don't mute those 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings and you happen to hit them whilst you're hitting the power chord, it sounds very ugly. So that's just a tip moving forward for all the power chords in this song. So we're gonna go to the A flat chord and then we're gonna go to the D flat chord. So that's the same power chord shape, just down 1 string. Now with any power chords where the root note is on the 5th string, you can use your index finger to lightly touch the 6th string to mute that, because again, we don't want unwanted strings ringing out. Or you can take your free middle finger and lightly touch that 6th string as well. So the first little bit's gonna go down, up in terms of strumming. Now we're gonna strum this A flat 5 for the first 2 strums. And then on the next down strum, you can actually lift everything and hit the open strings. And then on the up strum, we'll hit that D flat 5. So down, up. We hold that out for a little bit, and then on the next up strum, we'll catch that D flat 5 again. And then on the next down strum, I'm gonna hit the open strings, and then go to an F# power chord on another up strum. So we're changing chords on up strums here, or end beats. So that's it for the first bar. For the second bar, we continue on with this F#5 power chord. We're going to hit that with another up strum and then shift back up to the D flat 5 with a down, and then our A flat 5 with a down, and then back down to our F#5 with one more down strum. So the second bar, up, down, 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 and all together. Notice those 2 strums where we lift our fingers and you can just hit the open strings. Those are really handy moments where it allows us to actually lift our fingers and move to the next chord. So that's the first 2 bars. Now the next 2 bars is almost identical with the exception of the last down strum. So instead of going back down to our F#5 power chord, we're gonna just lift our fretting hand and hit the open strings. And that's a really cool sound. Like that. So the first main riff. And the second main riff. The second line of tab is identical to the first line of tab, so nothing new to learn there. And that's it for the intro, which sounds like this. Now I will note that in the studio recording, the first 2 bars are played on a separate guitar and the full band kicks in on that F#5 power chord at the end of the second bar. And then from that point onwards, it's 2 guitars playing at once. So that's just one thing to note. If you're playing this by yourself, you can choose to play that background guitar or just come in on that F#5 power chord before the 3rd bar. Next we get to the verse, and it's really easy because it's basically comprised of parts we just learnt in that intro. So for the first 2 bars, it's just vocals and the kick drum. Now in the 2nd bar at the 4 beat, that's when we come in with just the open strings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to play that main riff, the first 2 bars basically of the intro. So that's it for the first line of tab, and the second line of tab is almost identical, except again for that final strum, instead of going to that F#5, we're hitting the open strings. So that's the verse, which sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next we move on to chorus 1, which is also the same as chorus 2. Now it's just power chords and a lot of strumming here. So we're going to start with our D♯5 power chord, and our strumming pattern covers 2 bars of music, but it goes down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And we're just going to basically strum that chord for the whole 2 bars, except for that final up strum where you can hit open strings. So down, 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 up. And that allows us to move to our next power chord, which is the A♯5 for the same strumming pattern. And then we go up to an E♯5 for the same strumming pattern, and then back to our A♯5. So those are the first 2 lines of tab, really nice and easy. The 3rd and the 4th line of tab are almost identical with the exception of the final 2 bars. So we just have silence here, we're cutting out that final A♯5, and on the final 4 beat, we're just hitting those open strings. So that's everything for chorus 1 and chorus 2, which will sound like this. After the first chorus, there's break number 1, which is basically just the same as the first line of tab of the intro, so nothing new to learn there. Then we have verse 2, chorus 2, we've already learnt those parts. Now break 2 is the same as break 1, but it's just repeated through twice. Next we get to the solo section. I'm just going to teach you the rhythm first. If you want to jump to the lead guitar for the solo section, then just scroll to the timestamp below in this video. But basically the rhythm guitar for the solo section is more or less the same as the chorus, except we're cutting out the last 2 bars. So when we go to our E♯5 for 1 strumming pattern, we then move on to our next section. There's no short break there. Next we get to verse 3. Now again, there's 2 guitars going on here. The background guitar is basically playing the riff that we had in the intro, but the riff where we end it with open strings as opposed to the F#5. So that's the background guitar going on. The second guitar is basically just playing those open strings on that 4 beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that riff is basically just played through 5 times. After it's played through 5 times, there's a break for 2 bars. And then we play a slide on the very last beat here from anywhere on the top of our strings that takes us to our final chorus. The final chorus, the 3rd chorus, is just the same chords as our solo section. So more or less the same as chorus 1 and chorus 2. And then we get to our outro. So again, there's a background guitar going on here, playing the main riff where we end on the open strings. So that's a background guitar. I'm not gonna actually play that. I'm just gonna come in where those open strings are. And then we continue on with the riff where we go down to the F sharp 5. So that's the first line of tab. The second line of tab, we play the riff with the open strings and we play the riff with the F sharp 5. For the third line of tab, we start off the riff the same way. So down, up, up. But for the second bar, we start with this F sharp 5 and then we go up to the D flat 5 with a down, up, and then we end with the strum on the A flat 5. So up, down, down. Again, for this final line of tab though, the guitar's cut out and there's a background guitar playing that first bar and the main guitar kicks back in on that second bar where we go up, down, down. So that's what I'm going to do. Of course, if you are playing this by yourself, you can play the full riff though. But altogether, for the outro, it will sound like this. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you how to play the guitar solo. So we're going to start with an F octave. So to play that, it's essentially an F power chord here, with our root note being that F on the 5th string, but we're going to lift our ring finger. So it's just the 5th and 3rd string being fretted. Now the important thing here is that you use your index finger, again, to lightly rest on top of all the other strings below it, and that will mean when you strum all the strings, only these 2 notes will ring out. And you can hit the 6th string by lightly touching it with the top of your index finger. So we're going to strum this with a down, down, up, down, up, down, up, up, up. And then on our next down strum, we slide down 2 frets. So that's an E flat octave, and then down 2 more frets to our D flat octave. So all together for the first 2 bars. For the 3rd bar, we're going to hit this 4th fret octave and slide up to the 6th fret octave on the first down strum. So down, 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 down. On the next up strum, we're going to hit that and slide up to that F octave. So down, 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 up. Then we go back down to the E flat octave, the D flat octave, and then down 1 fret to the C octave, all with down strums. So the 3rd and the 4th bar. And the first line of tab. For the second line of tab, we're going to play the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. We're going to pluck that, hold it out for a beat, and then pluck it 4 times with a down, up, down, up. Then we'll go up to the 5th fret with a down pluck, and then 6th fret with an up pluck. So down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Then back down to the 5th fret with an up pluck. Then back down to the 3rd fret with an up pluck. And then we're going to pluck this 2 more times with an up, down. So the first 2 bars. And then after that, we'll slide our index finger up to the 8th fret for the 3rd bar. We're going to have our middle finger here ready on the 9th fret of the 2nd string. So let's break this up into groups of 3. So we're going to hit this 3rd string twice with 2 down plucks, and then an up pluck on the 2nd string. Now don't hold the 2 notes down as you're hitting them. Once you're done plucking the 3rd string, lift it, and then only fret the 2nd string. So like that. And then for our next section, our 2nd string note will be 11th fret with our pinky finger. And then for the next group of 3 notes, our final note will be at the 8th fret of the 1st string with our middle finger. The next set of 3 notes is the same as the 2nd set of 3 notes. And then for our last 2 notes, it's the 3rd string and then 9th fret of the 2nd string. So we put that all together. For these 2 bars, any time we're hitting the 3rd string, I'm doing down plucks, and then for all the other strings, I'm doing an up pluck. So the second line of tab. Now the third line of tab is identical to the first line of tab, and for the fourth line of tab, our first bar is identical to the first bar in the second line of tab. Then we'll go back down to the 5th fret, and then down to the 3rd fret, and then we'll hit that 3rd fret of the 3rd string once, and slide up to the 8th, and then end the solo on the 9th fret of the 2nd string. So the final line of tab. And that's it for the solo, which sounds like this in total. And those are all the guitar parts for this song. So now I'll be doing a full playthrough of the song and of a vocal track on top for some context. A big thanks to my friend Tugler for lending his awesome vocals to this playthrough. Feel free to play this back as many times as you'd like to practice, play along to, and see how you go.
Subliminal mindfuck America. To idiot America.
Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this lesson, then I know you'll absolutely love these other lessons too. So hit the link here, or if you want to grab a copy of my free guitar ebook, then head over to guitarzerotohero.com or click the link here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.